Good morning, church. It was just great to be able to share with you the day just a little bit about Daniel and how he lived only for the approval of one person, and that is God. And I was just sharing a little bit about how what God has to offer is not what the world has to offer. And so the question really is, what are we striving for? And I just really felt as I was preparing for this, I just wanted to read from John chapter 14, where Jesus says this: "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." And then he says these incredible words: "I do not give to you as the world gives." Let's read those words again. "I do not give to you as the world gives." And then he says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." And I love the book of John. John is, he starts off right at the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. And then in verse 3 it says, "Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light that shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it." And then in verse 10 it says this: "He was in the world, and though the world was made through him," listen to this now, "the world was made through Jesus, through God himself. The world did not recognize him." How incredible is that? The very thing that was created by you looked at you and didn't recognize you. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. The very beings that were created did not accept him. And yet it says, "To all who did receive him and those who believed in his name, he gave them the right to become children of God." And that just really spoke to me, because I was thinking about, we've all been through a really interesting year, haven't we? And I think many people have had the opportunity to stop and just to think about what they're doing with their lives. And maybe, just like I said in the previous video, maybe we've strived for things that wasn't really a calling on our lives. Maybe we were hampering after that promotion. Maybe we were hampering after that big salary. And in truth, what God has called us to do sometimes is not always what we're doing with our lives. And I was listening to a song the other day, and it's a song that talks about the fact that, when we've sung this in church before, the resurrected King is resurrecting me. And they say this one line: "By your spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat." And my encouragement to you this morning is, understand who you are in God. Like Jesus says, "I don't give as the world gives." Please don't look at the world and think that what they have to offer, or what they speak over your life, or what they say to you about your value, that is what God says. Because like we said just from John chapter 1, the world didn't even recognize who God was. They're not even in a different chapter of the same book. They're in a completely different book entirely. Who God says you are is very often entirely different to what people in the world say you are. And so if you're in that place at the moment where you're just thinking, "Do you know what, I just don't feel very fulfilled in what I'm doing as a job. I feel like sometimes I'm selling myself short, or I'm compromising on some of my standards to try and keep people happy," just realise that actually who God has called you to be is the very thing that you should be walking into. And I just wrote these words the other day, "Thank you, Jesus, that what you give is so different to what the world gives. Love in its purest form, joy in abundance, mercy without ceasing, and unconditional grace. Help us to rise from the ashes of disappointment. Help us to rise from the ashes of despair. Help us to rise from the ashes of failure, to rise up from everything that is worldly, the pain, and to keep our eyes fixed on the Son and who God has called us to be. He is the source of all things, the one who brings the dead things to life, the one who restores all things, and the one who makes all things new." And I just want that to be an encouragement to you today. It might be in a relationship that's gone bad. It might be in, like I said, a job or a career that you're just feeling like this isn't where I should be anymore. It might be in financial difficulties. Let me just call out of you right now: the godly person that God has called you to be, the person to fix your eyes on who he is, to realise that what he has to give is not what the world gives, and believe for the greater things. Be brave enough to step into this new season with a new sense of direction and a new sense of calling on your life. So go, be blessed, and we love you very much.